Hey, Facebook friends and YouTube. Here's my full testimony. I made a video about part of my testimony before, but I didn't say all of it. And I had left out meeting my husband and my kids in it. So the good parts, usually people start with the bad parts of their testimony, but the good parts are I met my husband 6 years ago online. We met online. So I highly recommend that for any of you single people. It was on plentyoffish.com. At the time, that was free. And I just emailed a bunch of people like, hey, how are you? And then he responded like 2 weeks later. And then he asked for my phone number. And then I called him like that night. And I just knew after our first phone conversation that he was the one. Other good stuff. I went to a private Christian college after high school. And that really cemented my faith, I think, and that really helped. I mainly went to that college, honestly, because I didn't want to be tempted, because I know a lot of people in college, get into the party scene, drinking and drugs and sex, and so I was like, I'm not going to do that, so I went to a Christian college, and obviously it was cool to have Christian teachers, and it was, incorporated into our learning somewhat, talking about Jesus. So that was Biola University. And before that, I grew up in a Christian home. My parents were Christian. They were actually part of what some consider a cult, though, but it wasn't that bad. It was called the local church, and I think it's mainly in California. Anyways, it was kind of a very religious, like legalistic type of a church. So I guess that's what led to my dad having problems. He developed a sexual addiction and ended up molesting me. Anyways, it wasn't that crazy. It was kind of minor, but obviously it was still pretty weird. And so I told my mom right after it happened. She was out getting groceries. I told her when she came home, and then my dad went to jail the next day. And he was sentenced for like a year, but he got out early on good behavior, which is crazy. The sentences back then weren't very long, but they should have been longer because they used to think that people could get better from something like that, but they can't. And the other half of that story is my dad is currently in prison for molesting his step-grandkids. Like he was taking a shower with them, and anyways, just very inappropriate. I have no idea where that came from. I know he was molested when he was a kid. His cousin molested him when he was taking a nap. So I guess that's what led up to him wanting to do that, but I still don't really understand it all. Anyways, so my dad went to jail, then my parents got back together because the psychologist said that my dad was healed, which I guess kind of he was because he didn't try anything else with me. So they got back together. Then we moved out to Nebraska from California to be by my dad's parents. But then his behavior started getting a little bit erratic. He started drinking a little bit more. He always would drink one beer to help him go to sleep, but then I guess he was drinking more. And he didn't want to go to church and stuff. So my mom was worried, and she found some porno magazines in his truck. So they divorced. And that was good, I think, overall. But then me and my brother started getting into a lot of trouble. We both tried smoking cigarettes, and then that led to marijuana for my brother. I tried it once, but anyway, so my brother got into that, and I already made another video about his story, but he got into like listening to Marilyn Manson and all kinds of stuff. So then my mom kicked him out when he was either 17 or 18 because he kept stealing her car at night and sneaking out. And and then me and my mom moved to California to be with my grandparents, which was really, really good because they were both super awesome Christians. And that got me back on the straight and narrow because I didn't have them in my life 4th through 8th grade, so I think that's why I got into a lot of trouble. But then they came back into our lives, and my grandpa was a church choir director, my mom's dad. So he kind of became my dad, and he was like the best dad anybody could ask for because he was a super great guy. My grandma would always encourage me to not date and stay away from boys because she had quite a few crazy, like she almost got raped a few times by a guy she was dating, so she was telling me to stay away. So mostly I did. I had some boyfriends, but mostly I stayed away from dating. And then I had this one boyfriend my senior year. It was kind of serious. And I guess it could be said he almost raped me, but I mean, it wasn't really rape. I don't know. Anyways, I wasn't really wanting to do anything, but he did. And it didn't go that far, but anyways. So that was a little bit crazy. So I dumped him. And then I went to a Christian college. I only dated one guy there, like on 2 dates, and that was pretty much it. But that's why I wanted to go to that college, because I didn't want to get caught up in the party scene. After college, I think I was a little bit disappointed, though, because I was hoping to meet my husband at that Christian college. So, anyways, then my stepbrother moved in. My mom had gotten married to my stepdad when I was in college, and he had an adopted son who was 28, and I was 22. And anyways, he moved in, so I guess, and he was pretty attractive, so I guess that was just too much temptation. So anyways, he ended up being my first, like officially, that I lost my virginity to. So that relationship lasted about 2 months, and for some reason I thought it was okay because I thought we were going to get married. But then one night I told him I loved him and he said he didn't love me. So I was like, what? So I was pretty sad about that, obviously. So then I told my mom what had been going on, and she kicked him out, which was good because, anyway, so that ended that relationship. And then I was pretty good for a while as far as staying pure. I worked at a Salvation Army kids camp, and so that was really good. And we had like devotionals with the kids and stuff. And then I worked at a school. It was a private school. It wasn't really Christian though, but I taught junior high English. And then I had another boyfriend, and we did mess up like 2 times, but then I dumped him. And I don't think he really was interested in marrying me. I thought that we would get married, but oh well. I met him on christianmingle.com. So yeah, you probably should be a little bit careful about who you meet online. And then I worked at a preschool, and that was really good. I met a guy at church, but we just emailed. Nothing ever really happened with that. And then I worked on a cruise ship for a while with some kids. That was really cool. I recommend it if you don't have kids and you're single. You should try working on a cruise ship with the kids. And then I moved to Nebraska with my brother, and I met this guy. His name was Roger, and we worked in mental health together at a group home with some kids. So that was really cool. But I think when I met him, I didn't realize he was still married. So I thought we would get married, and he said we would get married. Anyways, we got an apartment together, and then I found out he was still married. So I was like, what? So anyways, then he started the divorce process with his ex-wife, which took over a year and a half. And it still wasn't complete. Then a year and a half later, he died. He was on like 4 different medications. He took an antibiotic that day, and he went out drinking with a friend. So that's why I'm very anti-medications now, because they can kill you. Then I moved back to California with my mom, and that helped me a lot with the grieving process. Then I went to Australia. I got like a life insurance amount of money from when Roger died. So I went to Australia, and I'd always wanted to do that, and I think that really helped me to, not like want to kill myself after that, because it was really hard to lose someone. I was with them for 2 years, so it was really hard. So I was crying a lot, but that was fun in Australia. Then I went to Kansas City to live with one of my best friends, and that's where I met my husband, and we met online. And then we moved to Texas. Yes, I have moved a lot. Then I moved to Texas with Ben, and we stayed with his parents for a while, and he worked in the oil field. So that was really good. It was pretty good money. So I was able to stay home while I was pregnant, and then with my girls. And then we moved to Austin. So currently we're in Austin because my mom and stepdad moved out here because the weather's really good. It's the best weather of anywhere in Texas because it doesn't really snow. So now we're in Austin, and hopefully we'll stay here. And we bought a house about a year ago. It's really nice. It's a 4-bedroom house. And so God has really, you know, Joyce Meyer always says, God will give you double blessing for former trouble. And God has. And our house is great. My girls are awesome. I love being a mom, and being a stay-at-home mom was always my dream, really. And my husband is a great hard worker, and I'm very grateful for him. And as you all know, if you're on my Facebook, I post stuff all the time trying to witness. So obviously I haven't lived a perfect life, so I really can't judge, you know. Nobody really is supposed to judge that much. I think we are supposed to a little bit, because Paul says we are supposed to judge those inside the church, but how do you know who's inside? That's the real question. Who's in the church and who's not. Anyways, and then in a year, hopefully I plan to teach high school English or junior high English again. So pray for me that that'll work out. So hope you all enjoyed hearing my story. And you all should make a video now of your testimony. That would be really cool, because you never know what part of your story might help somebody. You know, maybe it'll help them feel better about their story. So God bless.